What's over here? More crazy horses. Nope, wolves. Man, these wolves are doing way more damage than before. Death. Stop fucking dying. Holy shit. You're never gonna be strong. You're never gonna raise your power level. You're never gonna go fast. Like Sonic. Son of a bitch. I knew he was gonna die. I knew it. I knew it was gonna happen. It's just a matter of time. Oh, don't die. Don't die. You can tell the difficulty of these games, these older ones, are much higher. I mean, most Nintendo games were more difficult than recent games. Mostly because they wanted them to last longer. Back then, Nintendo games were like $50. But most of them played for a few hours, so people didn't feel like it was worth it. So they started making games really hard, so it'd take longer to get through them, so it felt like they had a longer life, even though they actually didn't. I have to run away. Don't die. You know, I'm never gonna get any experience if I keep fucking dying. And since Mike can't run away with his tanky ass, fuck. Alright, I'm gonna have to just run around the, you know, beginning area and just get some experience and some money and buy some better equipment, because I am just getting screwed up. Like, if I'm getting killed by wolves, then I am on a low level, obviously. Like, I am not prepared. And I gotta redo my configuration now. This was 2. Everything else was the same. My formation is still fucked up. Alright. Oh, jeez. Okay. I'm just gonna run around for a little bit, get some experience, buy some shit, and then maybe I'll stop dying so damn often. So anyways, like I was saying, back in the day they made games harder so they'd last longer. But nowadays it's more about letting the player get through the game, because more people that, I wouldn't say aren't interested in games, but more people who aren't actually gamers play games. And so if they made games really hard nowadays, people would be pushed away from it, because, you know, people who aren't really gamers want to be able to pick up a game and just play it and not get frustrated. So games nowadays are usually hold your hand for the most part, at least for the beginning, you know, parts of the game or whatever. And it's kind of annoying to gamers, but it's more understandable. You know, a lot of people like get frustrated when games hold your hand and keep telling you what to do. If you've ever seen Egoraptor's sequelitis, the whole Mega Man, that thing, yeah. People get frustrated with that stuff. And I do too, because, you know, I mean, it's okay for, like, the tutorial level, but once you get past the tutorial part of the game, you know, it gets annoying when the game keeps reminding you how to play the game. You know, but I understand why it's there too, because some people don't play games all the time. You know, if you were to pick up a game that doesn't explain any of the rules to you as you're playing it, it can get kind of frustrating if you're not a gamer and really know what you're doing. I have to go fucking revive death. Damn it! But, you know, on the other hand, as said in the Sequelitis video, which by the way is my favorite video on YouTube, if you haven't seen it, it's amazing. You know, good games should teach you how to play the game without actually telling you, like, in text, you know? But, even then, some tutorial levels and stuff just kind of drag on too long. And like I said, I understand why they do it, but back in the day, you had none of that shit. You know, like this game, for example, there was a little room that you could go to optionally that would tell you how to play, but nothing told me when the game started up, hey, here's how you attack, you're supposed to go fight monsters and blah blah blah. Basically, it kind of just gave me that idea because the king was like, hey, well, I gotta go revive death first. The king was like, hey, you gotta go fight monsters and rescue my daughter. So you kind of got the idea right off the bat. What's in here? Because this is... Oh, right, this is the church. I feel like an idiot now. But he kind of said, like, hey, you gotta fight shit. And so it kind of gave me the general idea. But then there's, like, that little room. I don't have enough gil. Are you kidding me? Well, this is interesting. I gotta fight to get enough gil to revive my character, so I can fight to get more gil. This is, yeah. I think I'm a little, oh my god, speaking of underleveled, I'm about to get blown the fuck up. Fire! Die over, die. Oh, he's not even dead. This is bad news bears right now. They didn't even attack. What the hell? Oh, he missed. Oh, he hit. Good thing he hit Mike. So yeah, do I prefer games to hold my hand? No. But do I understand why they do it? Yes. Then there's games like Dark Souls that purposely don't hold your hand. Is that any better? I don't know. People seem to think that Dark Souls is the best game ever made because it's hard. And it's really annoying. Like, anyone that ever tells you Dark Souls is really good because it's hard never played Nintendo or any system before PlayStation 2, because that's not why it's good. It's not. Damn, they gave me a ton of gil. Fantastic. It's not like Dark Souls. Dark Souls is hard because they tried to make it like the old games that were hard, that were classics. It's not a new concept. It's not like, oh my god, they made a game that's hard, all these other games are easy. No, they were reviving an old concept where when you died it actually mattered. And it works because people enjoy that kind of thing, or get frustrated. It's kind of a taste thing. Either you love it or you hate it. I like the idea of a game that punishes you when you die. I don't know if Dark Souls really does it correctly. I think Demon Souls did it well. My favorite version of Dark Souls is Dark Souls 2, but I think they did the death thing really wrong in that game, because when you die, you lose part of your maximum health, which I think is stupid and alienates not just beginner gamers, but pretty much everyone. Because if you die in a part, that means that you weren't good enough to get through the part. And now that you have less maximum health, it's even harder to get through that part. So, I don't understand doing that. It's really stupid. Like, why make it harder when you lose? It should be the same difficulty, but you should lose your souls or whatever. So you lose progress. So you feel like you're actually punished for dying. Because that's a good concept. Because games that don't punish you for dying get really boring a lot of times. Because you're just running through nonchalantly, not really caring. That's why a lot of people really like old Nintendo games. Because usually with old Nintendo games you had lives. You know, so you actually cared when you died. Because after you died 2 more times, you're going to have to start the whole game over again. So you actually took your time and tried not to die, whereas most games nowadays, you just run through, and if you die, whatever, you start right back where you died. The only exception to that would be like RPGs like Final Fantasy, where you have to save, and if you die, you have to start back over. But, you know, some games are really kind of frustrating, because it doesn't matter if you die. Then there's games that when you die, you start right back where you died, but the game itself is really hard, so it's still rewarding when you win. Like, you know, Super Meat Boy and all those games. A lot of PC, a lot of indie games do that. Are we hurt? A little bit. Oh, what? Probably getting annoyed with me doing that all the time, but it drives me crazy when they're not in the right spot. One more fight, and then we'll jump in the inn and heal. Unless we get an easy fight. And this is not an easy fight, for damn sure. Fuck! Why do they keep doing that? Why do they keep fucking up Death for no apparent reason? He's the worst guy on the team. Don't attack him. You're not really helping yourself out too much doing that. Why is this ogre taking no fucking damage now? So, anyways, I talked about all that to just say that I like the fact that this game's a little harder. Because one problem I have with the new Final Fantasy games is that they're too easy a lot of times. Which is why I do challenges. If you've seen like my Final Fantasy X challenge videos and stuff, and way back when I did Final Fantasy VII challenges too. I'd like to do another one sometime, now that a lot of people are following this channel because of my Final Fantasy VII stuff. I'd like to do another one sometime. But yeah, I do challenges because a lot of the Final Fantasy games seem to be too easy, and I think part of it's just because I've played so many RPGs that I'm just very good at them. So I took one step. Come on, game. And it's fucking 4 crazy horses. That fucking preemptive strike bullshit. Like, come on. This game is really mean. Like, I'm one step away from the town, and it's like, here's 4 crazy horses, and they're all fucking attacking you. But, yeah, part of me thinks that I'm just, you know, pretty good at RPGs, so that's why they seem easy, but, you know, I can play through Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy X, maybe even Final Fantasy IX, like, without really doing any grinding like I'm doing right now. Like, I can just run through them, and I'll be really low leveled, but I'll still end up doing fine, not having really any problems. And especially if I grind a little bit, then I can just, like, I don't even have to really, like, come into a fight with a plan. Like, I can run into a boss with half of my party, you know, at half health, and just be like, alright, that's fine, and just attack normally, not really have, like, a plan, like, oh, this guy might be weak against fire, like, just attack, and end up winning. So, doing challenges is nice, because then I have to think a lot more about what the enemy actually does and what's a good strategy against them and whatnot. I think Final Fantasy 12 was a pretty good difficulty curve, especially the hunts that you do get like really, really insanely hard. And I think Final Fantasy 13 had a pretty good difficulty curve too, but that game was easier to make a difficulty curve because it was more linear. So like for RPGs, I would imagine, I'm not a game developer myself, but I would imagine it would be harder to create a difficulty curve for these RPG games because there's so many side quests and side areas you can go to that, you know, you go to those side areas and get new equipment and stuff, and you're also leveling up while you're doing it. So you end up being way stronger if you go on the side quest, and you end up being much weaker if you don't go on the side quest. But you want to create a game where if the character goes through, you know, not that many side quests, they'll still be able to at least finish the game. So you have to make enemies kind of easier so that a player that isn't searching every nook and cranny can still win. But the characters that are, or the players that are searching every nook and cranny will end up, you know, absolutely destroying every boss. So I can understand why it'd be a little difficult to make a good curve. But see, I feel like personally, you should just make RPGs really hard. Just always, just really hard. Because there's always the chance, like if you get to a boss that you can't beat, you can always grind and get strong enough to beat them. And if you get to a boss that's really hard, it motivates you to be like, oh, I should go do some side quests to get stronger. And then you're getting more out of the game. It takes you longer to beat the game because you're doing all these side quests. You get more of the story because you're doing all these side quests, you know. The games should make you want to do the side quests. It shouldn't make you want to just fly through the game without doing any side quests and then finish it. So I feel like most RPGs should be harder than they are. Like this is, I like this. This is like hard. Like I have to grind just to get to the next damn town. And I'm okay with that because I feel like that's the way it should be. I shouldn't just be running through like, oh, I'm level 5, but fuck it. Just blow up everything. But there's a big difference between making difficulty curves for like platformers and making difficulty curves for like RPGs. Either way, the game should slowly introduce you to new concepts, which is more relevant for platforming games because like Little Big Planet is a good example of a game that does well with its difficulty curving because it always introduces you to a new thing. Like just play any Little Big Planet level that includes like a new power-up and you'll understand what I'm saying. Like just pay attention to the way the level is designed, because it's always like you start off the level and you just do some regular platforming, and then you get the grapple hook or something, and then every obstacle after the grapple hook is like a new concept. So first it'll just be like a pit that won't kill you if you fall in it, and it has a grapple hook thing on it, so you can practice grapple hooking without actually dying. And then the next obstacle will be the same exact thing, but it'll be a pit that kills you, so you have to do it in one try, without dying. And then the next thing will maybe be 2 pits or 2 grapple hooks in a row that you have to grab. And then the next thing will be, now the grapple hook is moving, so you do that. And then the next thing will be 2 pits and they're moving. So it's got like a perfect, from one part to the next part, you're only getting one thing thrown at you at a time. It's not like you get the grapple hook and you do a grapple hook first and then now you have 2 that are moving. Like, it's always a good curve from, part 1 to the end of the level, you know. So Little Big Planet's always been really good at doing that. Some games aren't as good at that. I'm thinking off the top of my head. Crash Bandicoot was also pretty good at doing that. Crash Bandicoot, I think, is another game that, well, actually, no, I think the difficulty curves were pretty good in that game. The original one was really hard. Then they kind of made it a little easier as the games came out. The first one was really good. The second one was really good too. Warped is my favorite one. But I don't remember Warped being necessarily hard, not until you got to like the bonus levels. Is that everyone? Yeah. But then like after that, like the PS3, was it PS3 version? The one with Crunch? That one, I felt like it kind of pulled you in too many different directions. It was like one level you're doing platforming, another level you're in a ball rolling around, the next level you're on a vehicle, and it's like that's all cool and stuff, but they were throwing so many concepts at you at once. It was like it got annoying. Like the first area of that game should have been all platforming. It should have been Crash Bandicoot platforming, and then the next part, maybe then let's introduce the ball physics or something else, you know. But if I remember correctly, the first boss in that game was in a ball. You had to fight him in a ball, and it's like, well, the game is about platforming, so why are you making the first boss some other concept where we got to use the ball? And I think, and one thing I've always hated about Crash Bandicoot games, I love Crash Bandicoot games, but the one thing that always drove me crazy is the final boss is almost never a platforming thing. It's always like you're on a jetpack flying through the air or something. And it annoys me because the whole game is about platforming, so the final boss should be about platforming. Like, so many games do that too, it drives me crazy. Like, the final boss is always some, like, special thing where you gotta aim and shoot a turret or whatever, and it's like, if the game is all about platforming, or the game is all about this or that or whatever, why make the final boss something completely different? Like, the final boss should test your skills that you've learned throughout the entire game. Good final bosses will have like a concept from each thing that you've learned. So if you learned how to platform and you learned how to use the grappling hook and you learned how to roll in a ball, then the final boss should have 3 forms. One of them where you got to roll in a ball, one of them where you got to use the grappling hook, and then the final one should be just a platforming section. That would make sense. Then it would be like everything you learned up to this point you're now using. And if you've mastered all these concepts that we've taught you throughout the game, boom, you know, you win. You beat the final boss and you beat the game. Not some stupid shit where like it's totally different. I think Sly Cooper has done that shit too. Although the original Sly Cooper was like perfect because the final boss was just that. It was like you had to fight him on the jetpack, but then you had like a platforming section and like a section where you had to sneak around, and it was like everything you learned throughout the whole game you had to use during that fight. It was perfect. That's what every game should do. But unfortunately they don't always do that. For the most part, new games just annoy me anyways. Like, it's not just a difficulty, it's just new games in general. What the? Why does everyone attack Death? Stop it. Stop it. These are so many ward wolves. Damn it. No, don't die. Don't die. Jen, heal him. Heal him, Jen. Do it. Damn it. Son of a bitch. Like, don't even get me started on Destiny. If you watch my Mega Man Let's Play, you already know that I hate Destiny. Yes, I play it a lot because it's fun, but the game is horrible. It's a fun, horrible game. It's a game that is fun, but horrible. It's addicting in all the wrong ways. It's absolute garbage. I don't care what anyone says. You can tell me, you can argue with me all day. You could be like, Destiny's got this and this and this and it did this and this is new, and I don't care. Everything about that game is total garbage. They did everything. They made a game where it has more going on than most games, especially PS4 games, because most PS4 games try to just focus on one thing. Destiny has all these different things going on, but it didn't do any of them perfectly, or even close to perfectly. They did them all mediocrely. It's like, if you ever seen Angry Video Game Nerd, you ever see the episode, the Action 52? It's like Action 52. It's 52 different games that all suck. It's not one or two good games. It's a bunch that suck. That's what Destiny is. It's unbelievably, frustratingly stupid. I hate it. It drives me crazy every time I play it. And I don't think I even looked at what it got in ratings. I think it got like 9 or something. Which, it's hard not to give a game a good score when everyone and their brother plays it. But that doesn't make it a good game. Like, I'm sorry, it just doesn't. Like, just because everyone plays it. Like, don't just give Halo or Call of Duty 10s because everyone plays it. Like, if you're watching this and you're a person that writes a gaming magazine, you're like the director of a gaming magazine. Please listen to me, okay? I'm sure you probably already know this, but if you don't, you need to know this, okay? Not everyone who plays games are gamers. Most people who play games probably aren't gamers. There's like, I don't know what the statistics would be. I would totally make them up. But I'm telling you, probably 60% of people who play games are not gamers. They are, and not to be rude or anything, but they're like jocks or just people that just play games in their spare time, or even like meatheads who play Call of Duty, or raging people who play Halo, or trolls who play World of Warcraft. All these people who aren't actually gamers, they just play one game or maybe two games. Like I just had AT&T internet installed in my house, and the AT&T guy went to my basement where I put the router and saw all my video game systems and was like, "Oh, you play games?" And I'm like, "Yeah, actually I play games like for almost a living." And he's like, "Oh yeah, man, I'm a gamer too." And I'm like, "Sweet, what games do you play?" And he's like, "Oh, I play Call of Duty and I play Forza." And I'm like, "Get out of my house. Like, just leave. Like, no one wants, just leave. Fuck you. Like, don't say you're a gamer if you play Call of Duty and Forza. You're not a gamer. You're a person who plays games. You're not a gamer. A gamer is someone who plays a wide variety of games and plays them often and plays them for any other reason other than yelling at people through a mic." Like, drives me crazy. Okay, so if you're a magazine person, you have to understand that a lot of people play video games not because they're a gamer, but because they have a video game system and they play it sometimes, and that's it. So when a game like Call of Duty has 10 bajillion people that play it, it doesn't mean it's a good game. It means that a lot of meathead people who like to yell at little kids play it. Doesn't make it a good game. It just doesn't. And you cannot say it's a good game just because a lot of people play it. And those people will tell you it's a good game too, but they have no reference point. They're like, "Oh, the graphics, you can shoot the wall and it breaks. This is a great game." And you can't look at that and be like, "Yes, that's a good point. You can break the walls. That's fantastic." because they have no reference point. They've played no other games. All they know is Call of Duty. So that doesn't. They have no reference point to call anything good until they play other games. And even if they did play other games, they would hate them because it doesn't involve shooting little kids and yelling at them through a mic. You don't get to do that in this game. All you do in this game is fight goblins. How boring. What a boring game. Who would play this game? You don't get to yell at people in this game. Or shoot people with guns. Where are all the guns? All these people just have stabs. No guns. This game is boring.